So welcome everyone again to the Green Hub webinar series. My name is Barry Crosby and I'm one of the communication officers for the Green Era Hub project. So if you've been here before, you'll know that the Green Era Hub project officially started in September 2022 as a coordination and support action of the European Commission under the Horizon Europe programme. And it currently represents 15 EU ERA-NETs, co-funds and self-sustained initiatives in the field of agri-food and biotechnology. Well, we started these breakfast clubs here last year in October, and we've had 3 very successful series so far. The first one was Circularity in Agriculture. The second series was related to biotechnology to advance sustainable solutions for bioeconomy. And the one that we just finished was Sustainable Food Systems. If you're interested in listening to the talks related to any of the topics in these series just mentioned, our recordings are now available to view in YouTube. Now, for these 3 months, we're focusing on the topic of precision agriculture technologies for a sustainable future. And here we're going to have topics related to transparency across the value chain of different products, application of artificial intelligence in farming, robotics in farming, among many others. And just a few housekeeping announcements. Please feel free to type your questions in the Q&A and chat section, which I've enabled for everyone. I'm going to do my best to address as many questions as possible within that time that we have, which is 1 hour. If at the end of the session you have a question for either of the speakers, please do remember to address the speaker in the question. Now, today we have 2 panelists joining us, Dr. Fabrice Requier and Dr. Anthony Kukurikos. And we'll open our session today with Dr. Requier, who is currently a researcher based at the Institute for Diversity, Ecology and Evolution at the University of Paris-Saclay, France. Dr. Requier is a specialist in pollinator ecology and pollination biology. His research focuses on pollinator responses to changes in landscape structure, exposure to agrochemicals and pressure from invasive biotic factors, and the subsequent implications for biodiversity conservation and crop pollination. He typically combines the use of laboratory experiments, field monitoring, and modeling techniques, and has a growing interest in integrative socio-ecological approaches. Dr. Requier's work is orientated towards applied perspectives, including suggestions for policy and stakeholder decision-making. Today, Dr. Requier's talk is entitled Understanding and Anticipating Mechanisms of Honeybee Colony Mortality with Connected Beehives, which is part of the BeeConnected project from the ICT Agri-Food Initiative. Dr. Requier, thank you very much for accepting our invitation for our webinar series. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and you can start sharing your presentation. So thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you very much. Hello everybody. I will share my screen. Okay. So let me know if it's working well.
That seems to be working perfectly.
Perfect. So, hello everybody. So yes, I will talk about bees this morning, and especially honeybees. So the idea of this ICT Agri-Food project was to use electronics, especially miniaturized electronics to follow bees, the nests, and also their foraging activity. So why working on bees? So the idea was to connect on the current context of mortalities of honeybee colonies. So maybe all of you know that bees are declining, but especially for honeybees, the beekeepers, they are faced to mortalities of the colonies, the beehives, and this occurs since at least 20 years. And So it's critical for beekeepers, of course, because they have an issue to maintain the livestock, but also for biodiversity, because bees pollinate many flowers, wild plants, but also for agriculture, because bees are key pollinators that support crop yields. So it's alarming, this context of bee mortality. And what we know is that for honeybees, what we know is that the beekeeper are faced to very abnormal high mortality rates. It means that usually they accept, or the natural rate of mortality is around 5 or at least maximum 10%. But in Europe, especially in Europe, we know that the beekeeper can lose between 25 and 50% of the beehive every year. So we are faced to a crisis of pollinators with beekeepers that can lose uh, until half of their beehives. And the aim of the project was to connect beehive and to try to see if with electronics we can help beekeepers to avoid colony losses and to sustain their the beekeeping activity. So for that, we got successfully a project from the ICT Agri-Food program called BeeConnected, and the goal of this project was to develop new digital solutions, so especially low-cost devices to collect data, especially during the winter season on honeybees, and to try to deliver early warning signals of honeybee colony mortality that can help beekeepers to avoid colony losses. So this project involved three partners, three countries. So France with my lab, so as presented before, and also Germany with the University of Würzburg as a partner, and Greece with the Hellenic Agriculture Organization for Greece. So this was for 3 years project that ended 2 months ago. And so we have several results that I want to present you. But more before to present the results, main objective was to develop standardized monitoring of honeybees along gradients in terms of climate and landscape composition. So for that, we developed, you can see in the map, European map, that we have different hives. So these are the different regions. In each regions, we selected three sites. Three sites that were different in terms of landscape. So at the right side, you have circles. So in each of these regions, we had one agricultural site, a semi-natural site, and a urban site. And we replicated this site selection along a climatic gradient for Europe that include Germany, more continental climates, also temperate climate for France, and Mediterranean climate for Greece. So overall, we monitored 135 hives that were located in these 27 sites, and we collaborated with directly with beekeepers for this monitoring. So we did many field work, and the first was to equip all of these colonies with scales, connected scales, and you can see on the right side what we got. So over the two first years, we focused on the 2 winter seasons, so in the violet color, and we monitor the activities of the weights. So means that the dynamic of the colonies for each site. And we focus on the winter season, which is the collapse period of the colonies. We also equipped these colonies with temperature sensors that were equipped inside the colony to see how the colony thermoregulates during the winter. And we also equipped some of the colonies with sound record systems to understand a bit about the sound and noise that bees do. The first major results, very original, was that we were able to, during the winter seasons, to describe the thermoregulation of the colony, of the nests, using this temperature sensor placed inside the colony. What we found first, so we equipped, you can see on the pictures that we equipped each frames with temperature sensors, and many temperature sensors inside the box. And the result was that we were able to predict and to to reconstruct the thermoregulation, as you can see in the left side, with the color gradients. In the red means that the colonies warm up, and the blue color means that on the border of the nests, the cold temperature means that it's not thermoregulated. So with these devices, we can locate where bees are inside the nests, the size of the swarm, of the cluster of bees, a group of bees, that are located around the hot or warm colors. And we can follow that over the time, means that we also see the movements of the bee cluster, of the group of bees inside the nest. So we use this technology and these devices to try to detect early warning signals of colony mortality. And you can see here the new graph that shows this kind of early warning signals. With in red, you have the temperature inside, so the warmer temperature that is inside the bee cluster. And the blue temperature is the temperature outside of the bee cluster. And when we have a difference, significant difference means that the bees are able to thermoregulate. And over the time here, you can see that the two curves join. And this means that the colony is collapsing. And when you have no any more difference between outside the bee cluster and inside, means that there is no bee in the colony, or no any more thermoregulation, which is a predictor. So we can predict using this this technology, predicts the health of the colony and predict in advance if the colony will collapse or not. So this is very useful for beekeepers. And we also use another tool, which is on another scale. So we also track the bees. So individually, we tracked more than 600 bees using this microchips, which is a RFID. And with this, we can follow the longevity and also the flight activity of bees. And we equipped bees with that over the year, from May to October. And what we found very interestingly, that we just looked on the activity and longevity, and we found that winter bees, that's the bees that just emerge in autumn, have they have a very long lifespan, about 145 days. Instead of for summer bees, the average was 30 days. So these winter bees, they have a very long lifespan. And what we found interesting is that, okay, they have a long lifespan, but also they are doing more activities in terms of flight activities than most of the summer bees. So it means that during the winter, so there is this thermoregulation, but also bees that are kind of super bees, which live with a lifespan, very long lifespan and very important flight activity. Of course, as I explained before, we cooperate with beekeepers during these projects. The idea was to help beekeepers to avoid or to prevent colony mortality. And so for that, we developed with them the tools, especially for thermoregulation. And one main point was to see if the beekeepers they were interested with this technology. So we did a survey. We did a surveys with more than 500 beekeepers, and the main objective of this survey was to learn about their understanding of electronics for beekeepers and for beekeeping, and the use of these tools. And we found that more or less half of the beekeepers are currently using ICT in the activities, especially the scales, which is important. And for the other half of beekeepers that are not using ICT yet, the reason why they are not using is because it's still too expensive. So the tools that are in the market are too expensive. So it was very useful to know that they are interested, but the cost is a limit for the use of ICT. So of course, it's a project, a 3 years project. So we have many perspectives, and we are not solving all the issues, but it's a kind of startup for other projects. And the big outcomes of this project is that now we have a tool, we have different tools that are available. Now we want to understand what is the effect of climate and landscape, especially the combination of climate and landscape on the behavior of bees, especially during the winter season. Also, we want to develop machine learning algorithms that could help detecting automatically anomalies and indicators of colony mortality. And as I explained before, we also developed other tools like these sound recording systems. And so this is also very interesting, so very promising tools to detect, for example, health indicators of bees. And here you can see a graph based on our data. And especially you can see a cyclicity, kind of cyclicity in the sound. And we can detect the activity during the days and sleeping activity during the nights, which is also interesting to detect potential anomalies. And to summarize, so with this ICT agri-food project, BeeConnected, called BeeConnected, we developed low-cost tools that help us to detect potential early warning indicators of colony mortality using the thermoregulation during the winter. And we also shown that these tools can interest beekeepers and also help them to anticipate the colony collapse and to anticipate mortalities, and so to sustain the beekeeping activity. So yeah, thank you very much for your attentions, and I hope it was interesting for you.
Dr. Requie, thank you so much for such a really interesting and insightful presentation. I just think it's fascinating and so many questions I would love to ask you. Unfortunately, I don't have much time, but one of the first things I just kind of wanted to ask was I was fascinated about how you actually put the microchips on the bees. And I mean, that to me, that's just, it's really interesting to be able to track, creatures of that size with microchips is fascinating. So I was wondering if you could maybe just shed a little bit of light on that for me personally.
Yeah, so it's it's miniature chips, so it's very tiny, and so we we equip the emerge bees, so the very young bees that just emerge. They are not flying, and they are very quiet. They are not stinging, not flying.
Mhm.
So we can take this emerge young bees and equipped with just a dental glue, which is not toxic, and puts its white glue and put that on the thorax. And then it's the bees accept this microchips because it's very it represents 1% of the weight of the bee, so it's not that doesn't challenge the flight of the bees. So we are not tracking the flights. We are not able to monitor exactly where they are flying, but we know the duration of the flights, how many flights they do per day, and along the life when they go outside. And so it's relatively passive data. It's not active. We are not tracking exactly the the circuits, the mobility, but we have indirect data like longevity, duration of flight, and so forth.
Sure. Fascinating. Thank you so much. Just a couple of questions from our participants. Somebody's just actually asking about methodology and where you got your data from for the project.
So, methodology about which parts of the project?
I'm not sure what part of the project they were just inquiring about generally where you get your data from.
Okay. Okay. So all of the project is based on field monitoring. So we selected sites in the fields in collaboration with beekeepers. And so we involve beekeepers and we equipped the colonies, the beehive of the beekeepers with electronics. And so we got the data from the beekeepers. So we just provide the equipment for the beekeepers install the equipment, and we collect remotely the data by Wi-Fi, and or when it's not very well, the network is not well, we just use SD cards to collect the data.
Mhm. Fascinating. And Dr. Ekwe, just in relation to cost, because I know you mentioned during the presentation that, the availability of these technologies is there for beekeepers, but, it's prohibitively expensive at the moment. And somebody is just asking about, the reduction of costs. So moving forward, like how are you looking to reduce those costs to enable this kind of approach to beekeeping to be more affordable essentially for beekeepers? Like, somebody's asking, are you looking to reduce the cost of software, hardware? What are your kind of plans or thinking on that?
Yeah, yeah, this is an issue. So half of the beekeepers are not buying ICT because of the cost, but the other half, they are already accepting this cost. So there is a first discussion because it's always a trade-off. They are losing beehives, so they lose money. And so just to one, the first point was to show that this electronics can help them to avoid colony losses, to avoid the economic cost loss, and that's this allocation of money to buy equipment can help them to don't lose money. So this was the first more about yes, marketing and to expand the benefits to use electronics, and the second way to help them to don't to reduce the cost directly of the equipment. Okay, so most of them are using these scales. So the scales are the most expensive. So now the different the industry is trying to do a less expensive material, and also to add other sensors in these scales, like temperature sensors and other sensors that are much less expensive, but they are very more connected to a potential indicator of mortality.
Mhm.
So the addition of one temperature sensors can be a very good inversion for the beekeepers to track the health of the colony.
Mhm.
So yeah, there is these two way. One is more to sensibilize beekeepers, and second is to with the industry to expand that other sensors can be very useful to hatch, and they are much less expensive.
And somebody else is, again, very, very, very interesting. I mean, somebody else is asking, just as a follow-on, do you actually build any of these kind of technologies or electronics yourselves?
Yes, so yes, exactly. So that's low cost devices with the temperature sensors inside the hub. We did it. So we make the prototypes. Um, so it was, yeah, it was tough. It was a job. quite difficult, but it's a prototype, so it's
Mhm.
for science now, but to try if it's relevant for beekeepers. But we made it, and now we just published that last month, so it's now an evidence that this can be helpful for beekeepers, and maybe a market um, will start with that later.
Mhm. Dr. Reckaway, thank you very much. I think we could go on and maybe fill the hour with questions, lots of questions coming in. Unfortunately, we have to just begin our second talk now. But thank you very much. Thanks very much, everybody, for your questions, and of course, thank you to Dr. Reckaway today for such a kind of an illuminating and insightful talk. I know I learned an awful lot from it, so really was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Um,
Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Bye bye. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen once again. Okay, so now joining us is Dr. Anthony Koukourikos, who's currently the Chief Scientific Officer at SCIO PC in Greece. Dr. Koukourikos is a leading expert in data management, web semantics, data consolidation, and harmonization. He has spearheaded the design and implementation of various data management systems, prioritizing user-centric solutions that enhance data usability. Dr. Koukourikos is actively involved in the OptiFish project, which aims to develop, test, and validate technologies for improving onboard monitoring of catch volumes and fish health. His commitment to advancing data science reflects his ongoing efforts to integrate cutting-edge technologies into practical applications, significantly contributing to the evolution of modern data practices. Today, Dr. Koukourikos' talk is entitled Optimization of Digital Catch Monitoring and Reporting in European Fisheries, the Case of the OptiFish Project, a Horizon Europe funded initiative involving 19 partners across 8 different countries. Dr. Koukourikos, thank you very much for accepting our invitation for our webinar series. We're absolutely delighted to have you with us today. So the floor is yours. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so you can start sharing yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Let me see if this works. Does it also work on presentation mode?
Yes, that's looking great. Thank you.
Okay, so as Barry said, I will talk about a project that started fairly recently. So no results in this case, but plenty of vision. OptiFish is focused on specific challenges faced now and over the years in the fishing industry. The first one is the fact that overfishing, particularly location-specific overfishing, leads to ecosystem imbalances with, of course, plenty implications financially and ecologically. As always, things in operations and data collection and usage can become more efficient. And another industry-specific problem is that regulations are fairly intricate and extensive, so there is difficulty in assessing your compliance to them. OptiFish thus aims to apply data-driven approaches to optimize decision making and using state-of-the-art technology to address the challenges faced by the industry. We aim to produce ultimately a data management platform that covers different aspects of the operations related to these challenges and provide insights to different stakeholders to optimize their operations and ultimately their financial gains and ecological responsibility. In more detail, we aim to improve their data collection and integration process by combining data from different sources, either on board or let's say on the ground, to standardize and harmonize them for constituting them easier to analyze. To enable decision making to balance the two axes that I mentioned before, the ecological aspect and the financial aspect, and assist regulatory bodies in monitoring the compliance of the fleets with the set sustainability goals. Finally, we aim to provide insights to different stakeholders, from fishers to authorities, to assess whether their operations and their goals are to be met. The stakeholders targeted are fishers, regulatory bodies, researchers on the field, and of course technology providers that can make further use and innovate based on the platform we aim to build. This is, in a nutshell, the idea that we aim to design in more detail and implement. We aim to combine different data from resources like the Copernicus services, repositories at the national and European scale, and information coming from onboard technologies and relevant institutions, to combine them with under a harmonized data framework with all aspects taken into account, including performance, privacy, security, and so on, to build the baseline for the predictive analysis and the prescriptive analysis of the data that we can collect. In a nutshell, again, the main sources that we will combine will come from environmental sensors, satellite data, monitoring systems on the vessels, electronic monitoring systems, DNA and rapid DNA tools, and human reporting in the form of logs, reports, and so on. The main processes that we target to improve in the context of OptiFish focus on species recognition, where we will use models for identifying the fishes included in a catch. The further analysis of the catch and bycatch to improve the reporting accuracy and provide input to the compliance analysis. Models to assess the impact, the environmental impact of all fishing activities. And finally, the provision of stakeholder tailored dashboards where they can visualize the monitored activities and access insights that are of interest to their views. The technologies we will use to implement those improvements have to do with technologies to improve image quality, including robotic systems that will guide the monitoring of the catch. Catch reporting technologies based on electronic monitoring systems and rapid DNA-based technologies, and multispectral cameras, and again, rapid DNA technologies to assess the health and quality of the catch. Regarding the usage of artificial intelligence, we will train and enact neural networks based on existing data and data collected during the pilots of the project. We will apply some innovative architecture design and assessment technologies to maintain generalization of the models. And we will possibly fine-tune models specific to specific cases at the vessel level. The interactive dashboards will also apply state-of-the-art analytics technologies and visualization techniques. And we are considering the usage of generative AI to further improve the interaction with the users and the provision of insights under some uncertainty, of course. So part of the challenge is to properly communicate the uncertainty to the users. With all these, we aim to cover all the objectives of the project, so to improve decision making at all levels, from the vessel to the authorities, to properly assist to the sustainability goals set by the Commission and globally, to assist on innovation opportunities based on the technology that will be delivered through the project, and to provide a baseline in data and methodologies to further continue the research toward these directions. The main challenges from the technical perspective have to do with data heterogeneity, where we actually aim to combine and homogenize data coming from different sources, different modalities, and using different standards, for which a standards-based ATL pipeline will be put as a central part of the data platform. Another technical challenge will be to deal with the scalability of the system as more fleets come into the system, and more intricate analysis is applied to the data, where we hope that our reliance on cloud architectures and elasticity of resources and processes will help us. And a non-technical challenge has to do with the engagement of the stakeholders, where we will have to communicate effectively the gains from the usage of our data-driven approach, and of course matters of usability and cost will come into play. We're currently in phase one. As I said, the project started fairly recently, where we examine the existing data sources, the standards they use, and we build our own system for homogenizing them. Concurrently, we make our first steps towards the development of the analytical and AI models to proceed with the first trials of the system and establish the loop for improving them. At the end of the project, we aim to have a full deployment of the platform and the tools targeting each stakeholder type, along with a first assessment of the complete solution. So this is reflected in the figure, where the plan and the technologies to be used are presented in more detail to have an overview of how we organize the project. And that was for me. You can use the social media channels of the project and visit our site, subscribe to our newsletter, which will give you the developments of the project every month. And of course, if you have any questions, you can communicate directly with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kukurikos, for such again, another very interesting and insightful presentation. I just want to take this opportunity just to remind everyone that the chat box and Q&A section is open, so please do feel free to type a question for Dr. Kukurikos at any point. Dr. Kukurikos, while I'm just waiting for questions to come in, just one of the, I mean, what really struck me about your excellent presentation is the kind of ambition and scale of the project. I mean, I was particularly struck when you were talking about like the different types of technologies that will be used and adapted in this kind of fisheries context. I'm just kind of wondering, with any project where there is such kind of scale and ambition, there's bound to be plenty of challenges. And I know you listed many of those challenges out, but I wonder, could we just maybe dig into that a little bit more? And could you maybe tell us about some of the potential challenges you think will be present in terms of getting fishers to adopt digital monitoring and control systems?
Thank you for your question. Well, there are actually, as I also mentioned during the presentations, two main challenge dimensions. The one has to do with the technical scope of the project, and as you said, the difficulty has to do with the combination of such diverse data. The actual problem on that case is not so much the amount, let's say, of technology that we aim to combine, because these things are fairly well documented and well standardized, so we have something to build upon. The more difficult thing will be to combine data from different authorities. There are standards on that, but they are heavily customized between countries. So combining and sharing them will be a more difficult challenge. Some work has been done in a previous project, but it needs to be substantially expanded to cover the range of insights that we mean to produce. The second part is to firstly, let's say that the analysis part, given that we achieve to tackle the data related challenges, will not be that problematic. I am confident that given that we have the data in sufficient quality, the models will be performant and efficient. The difficult thing is to present them to different stakeholders based on their different needs, because they have different capacities and different abstraction needs. Not everything needs to be known for some stakeholders. And for example, of fishers, they are more concerned about the actions to do. But for the authorities, they need stuff related with explainability on the insights that were produced. So different, let's say, views on the same data have to be produced. And this is actually what I don't think will be at a production level at the end of the project, because a further cycle of usage from stakeholder representatives and a reevaluation of our approach will be needed, and there will be no time in one project for such actions.
Dr. Kukrikos,
Of course,
sorry,
yeah.
apologies, continue.
Yeah, just a last comment that as in the previous case, the previous project described by our colleague Fabrice, cost is always a consideration, especially for on-vessel technologies. We aim to reduce the costs from the usage of the computational part of the platform, but equipment and connectivity will not always be ideal in the real world, let's say. So please.
Sure. Thanks very much, Dr. Kukurkas. Just somebody is asking here, just a little follow on, just when you were discussing data, how easy is it to gain access to these disparate data sets? How reliable are they? And what is the quality like?
Are you referring to a specific modality of data? Because the communication with the vessels is, a well-established process with some caveats, like a loss of signal, tampering, and so on, which is part of the checks to be included in the data platform and part of the ETL pipeline that I mentioned before, to the discovery of undocumented loss of streams, the observation of outliers, and so on. The acquisition of, let's say, terrestrial data is both easy on the part of the acquisition, not the analysis and the homogenization, and reliable because we will rely on national authorities and Copernicus. So I don't have any, concern on the reliability of this data.
Mm-hmm. Sure, very good. Somebody else is just asking, are there any new digital technologies available to identify dead fish from fresh fish?
I'm not sure if this is within the scope of the analysis that our colleagues will do on the catch monitoring system, but it is actually a good consideration, and I guess that it could be part of the what we call the standard data set of images to be used for training the relevant models. I will have to get back to you for that, but it seems something feasible in principle.
Excellent. And somebody else is just asking about the environmental impact. Is there any environmental impact of the project? How will you assess the environmental impacts?
You mean the trouble we will cause? Or
yes. Quite possibly.
No. The idea is to test the system in already carried out activities. So apart from the costs of the data center and the energy used by for training models of what we expect to be quite a big data set, we will not, cause any significant harm as we have promised in Horizon. I don't think that we any of the technologies that we will use fundamentally change the footprint of the operations carried out on the vessels. And part of the effort to make the models generalizable, is to also avoid constant retraining, which is, the most energy-consuming part of AI.
Excellent. And just time for one final question, Dr. Kukurikos. I'm just wondering about the role of stakeholders, particularly of the fishers themselves, and the role that they play in kind of, well, first of all, kind of, I suppose, expressing a demand for these types of technologies, and also the role or collaboration that they play in their development. So I wonder, could you say maybe a little bit about the role of the stakeholder in terms of this project and the roles that they play?
Yes, thank you. So the main points of contacts are with fisher unions and representatives of fishing companies, which, as maybe understandable, their interests and their requirements do not always align. But we aim to use already established by different partners relations with such unions and companies, and also conduct interviews through tailored questionnaires with people on the vessel to better understand how they are currently carrying out the data collection processes that are required by them, and align our technology with how they are trained and how they are accustomed to do data collection. This is a heavily regulated field already, so even if they don't understand what exactly is going on and how the data are used, people know how to use the relevant equipment. The thing is that we want to tailor the analysis without disrupting the collection process. So we are more heavily looking into how we can drive people on board to check the quality and state of their catch, to tell them what to do than disrupt or make more complicated the data collection on the ship. I hope I answered, because it's a pretty broad question, but I think that the more challenging thing is to provide feedback to the people on board, because they have the smallest time window for making a decision, and they are under the more difficult conditions.
Absolutely. Really, really fascinating stuff, Dr. Kukurikos. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation, and thank you very much to our participants for your fantastic questions. I'd just like to finish just by saying thanks once again to Dr. Requie and Dr. Kukurikos for giving such wonderful, insightful presentations and providing us, I think, with a really tremendously detailed overview and insight into their respective projects this morning. So our next webinar will be on December the 5th at 10 a.m. Central European Time. I'll be sending out invitations to all of you in the following days, so please do look out for that. In that particular breakfast club on the 5th of December, we will be joined by Dr. Dimitrios Agriopoulos from University College Dublin, who will be talking about unlocking data-driven innovation for improving productivity and data sharing in the mushroom value chain. And Dr. Gulden Göksen from Tarsus University in Turkey will be talking about innovation in truffle cultivation, preservation, processing, and wild truffle resource management. Again, thank you very much to our panelists today, and thank you everyone for attending and for your questions. We really hope you enjoyed the webinar, and of course, we hope to see you back here in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.